So just like the title says, I bought a brand new Tesla that I don't have anymore. It's in the shop. It had to get towed. And I wanted to tell you my story. So a lot of you are going to be surprised. Why did Jessa buy a Tesla? Doesn't Jessa hate companies like Tesla? And right now I sure do, as you can see. But I bought a Tesla because it was something that I could buy with Bitcoin. And I was really excited about that. If you've watched my channel, remember a couple years ago I was big into crypto. Well, I had a ton of Bitcoin and I thought, hey, you know what? One thing you can actually do with Bitcoin, you can buy a Tesla. So I put in an order back in March for this cool looking Model 3. It's the long range with all-wheel drive for Rochester. And I was really excited to have an electric car. Like, I just wanted an electric car, and this one seemed like it would be really fun to drive. And you could buy it with Bitcoin, so that was my reason. And I thought if it broke down, it might be fun to learn how to fix it. I didn't really mean like the first day, so that's where we are now. I was surprised and disappointed to find out by tweet, just like the rest of you guys, that in fact you cannot buy a Tesla with Bitcoin anymore. This happened after I placed my order. So I immediately called Tesla, except you can't call them. I texted Tesla or sent an email and said, hey, obviously we made a deal and you knew that I intended to buy this car with Bitcoin. And they said, sorry, we don't take Bitcoin anymore. So that was sort of like a strike number one. And I just want to share my story for those of you that might be on the fence. I still don't know whether or not this Tesla is going to be awesome ultimately in the end. So it's up in the air. I just wanted to tell you my experience. So I decided to continue with the order anyway. And the next thing that really was a red flag for me was this. You guys know that I'm a stickler for attention to detail, at least when it comes to grammar and typos that are customer facing. And anytime I make mistakes just like everybody else, and whenever anybody brings that to my attention, I'm really grateful for that because I think it's really important to have that attention to detail. So I didn't like it when I got this text. Am I reading this wrong? This is a text that I got a few days prior to delivery, which said, oh, by the way, your Tesla that you ordered, we changed it. So we used to have radar, and now we've got something we're calling camera vision. By the way, camera vision doesn't quite work, so we're figuring that out on the fly. Uh-oh, there we go. We're figuring that out on the fly, so there you go. So you could have had radar, but we're discontinuing that, so that's the old stuff. And then the new stuff, we don't know if it works or not, and that's what your life in this vehicle that drives itself depends on. So I thought that was a little scary when they're spelling, do you see that? Automatic emergency braking. And they mean that literally. Automatic braking. Automatically, this car broke. So don't read that wrong. Automatic emergency braking. And that really bothered me. That's like in the app customer facing, I don't know. That stuff tends to be a red flag because it's the same guy that wrote that and didn't know how to spell braking. Is he the same guy installing the brakes? Is he the same guy that's putting in these cameras that you don't know if they work or not? I don't know. All right, next. It's time to go pick up my Tesla. So my Tesla was delivered to Brooklyn, New York. And you can see exactly how far that is from iPad Rehab in Honey I Falls, New York. It is a like 5-hour drive all the way to Brooklyn. So I actually took a flight because they just surprise you with like, hey, you know, we said it was going to be June 30th. Well, it is well in advance of that. It's June 3rd. Come and pick it up. And I had a trip scheduled like the next day for a conference. It was a big deal. And then after that, I got a MacBook course to teach that starts on Monday. And I was worried that they were just going to give it to somebody else or make you wait again. So I booked a plane to go all the way to Brooklyn to pick up this car. And when I got there, there's a very brief, like, here's your car. There you go. Bye. It wasn't charged. It didn't have enough charge for me to get home, which I thought was like, you know, kind of, you know, like you buy a new car, don't you want a full tank of gas? And I understand that you're not supposed to charge Teslas up to 100%, but this was charged like kind of low. Like, you know, I would have had to stop multiple times to get all the way home. So it was a delay, you know, put it on the supercharger, but none of that was a big deal. So then I drove it all the way home. I drove it 400 or some miles to get home, and it was really fun. It was way more fun than I thought, except for at the beginning part. The beginning part was not so fun because I didn't really think about it that this thing just drives itself. It's going to go where it feels like going. Navigate, take me home. It's like, all right, go this way. And it takes you aback because you're not really sure where it's going. So oh, here's me. Here's picking it up. Super happy after they charged it up, ready to go. So it dumps me out in New York City. So that's the route. It was like, we're going to take you through the city to get home, which is absolutely terrifying if you aren't quite sure how this car works. And right after an hour of sitting in New York City Manhattan backup at rush hour, waiting to go home, the computer decided to crash. That can make you change your underpants for sure. So this thing was just dead right there with people honking, 4 lanes trying to merge to go into the tunnel. And I did learn a lesson, which is that the car will still drive even if the computer is crashed. So thank goodness it came back up pretty readily. I don't know why it crashed, but that was another oof. Be prepared and think about what you're going to do in that event. So I headed all the way home and had a nice drive. I got home around midnight, and I had to leave for the airport on Saturday morning. So I drove back, got home at midnight on Thursday. Friday, June 4th, I rode around town a little bit, and it was really fun. It was just a fun car to drive. And I'm a mom. I drive a minivan. And it's not something that I really expected to kind of think that driving any car was fun. But it really, really, really is fun to drive. The full self-driving is terrifying. You never know if the car is going to kill you or not. It's sort of like having a very gifted toddler where it'll drive itself, and then it'll just decide to launch you right down an exit ramp at 55 miles an hour. So you never know if it's just going to quit or not. Or it'll just get mad at you. Oh, you didn't touch the wheel. I guess you're not here. Then I quit. And then suddenly you're driving. And it's just like having a toddler. It's very much like parenting a Tesla. All right, so I made it all the way home. And then, I went to charge it at the local supercharger. So this is the night before I have to fly on a very important conference trip. I take the Tesla to the supercharger just to be sure I'll have plenty of gas, plenty of miles to go in the morning to the airport. Go in the mall, and then I come back out. The app says it's charging, and I get to the Tesla, and there's some kind of an error. And the error message, let's see, is the error message on here? Oh no, do I not have my error message slide? My error message said BMS_A0136, battery management system error. And then it said under that, vehicle may not restart. Vehicle may not restart, which is exactly what it was. The vehicle did, in fact, not restart there at the mall. So then what do you do if you've got a Tesla that will not restart? You have to call roadside assistance. And by call, I mean text in the app. So this was another thing that was pretty freaky for me because my phone was at a very low, like 10% charge on my phone. And I intended to use the Tesla to charge my phone going home. But the Tesla's phone charging didn't work when it had this error message from the charging system. I don't know. I still don't know what's actually wrong with the car. So I was desperate because you can only communicate with Tesla through the app. So I wasn't really sure how to handle it. And I still don't know. What if my phone actually died? How would I communicate with Tesla in the app? I don't know. So through the app, you can click, first I clicked service because I wanted to, I hoped it would restart and I just wanted to schedule a service appointment. So I scheduled a service appointment, and the next one available right there on June 4th was like June 16th or something like that. So it was way far in the future, which seemed kind of crazy that's just the way it was. So I tried scheduling that, and then it would not start. It would not go into drive. I redid the computer a few times. I tried turning it off and on. did not solve the problem. And the computer would power on, AC did not work, vehicle charging or the car charger did not work. But the radios would work, windows would work, and it appeared, you know, in navigation, it would understand where I wanted to go, but when I went to put it in drive, it would not allow me to actually drive the car. So it's just sitting there. Roadside assistance. So roadside assistance through the app is very hit or miss depending on who you get. So I had a good experience and I had a bad experience. So roadside assistance the first time, I had a good experience. The person seemed to be able to understand the errors that I had with the car, and they said, you need to have it towed to a service location. And then I said, I don't have time for that because I'm going on a trip and I got kids that are home that I need to get back to. So I asked if I had to have it towed then, or if I sat there, would it restart? And she said, you can try to see if it will restart, like with an hour wait or something like that. So I let it cool down completely, and then about an hour later, I tried to restart the car and it allowed me to drive. Woohoo! And I thought, hopefully, maybe this is just some kind of a glitch and this is never gonna happen again. So I drove the car home. The next morning I get up and I drive to the airport and I leave the car at the airport. Now I was surprised, since the car was at the airport, I was surprised that I actually got a text from Tesla while I was in Florida, or in South Carolina. I got a text from Tesla that said that my vehicle was not eligible for mobile service. So I don't have any idea what's up with that. I think what happened is that they canceled my service appointment that I'd made, and they're telling me, yeah, you got to bring this in with a battery management system error. It's not something that's easy. So it's not a mobile technician thing. You're going to have to bring it in. Fair enough. So when I got back, I was bummed that they had canceled my June 16th service appointment. So I got back to the airport and I made another service appointment. I made that service appointment for when the next one available, which is now June 21st. And I'll just wait till June 21st. So I drove it back from the airport and I made a stop at iPad Rehab to drop off some stuff, intending to go home. And man, this conference was exhausting. It's late at night and I can't wait to get home. I am completely done. And I made it to iPad Rehab and then it wouldn't start. So I dropped off a suitcase, jumped back in the car. Nope. It's decided vehicle may not restart. It does not restart. And now it has stranded me a second time. This is on the heels of a really tough vacation. So it was very frustrating. So now I've hit roadside assistance again. This time did not go so well. So the guy on the other end of the text at roadside assistance said, this is a mobile tech issue, according to him, and that it needs a 12-volt battery. What? Because you guys specifically told me that it was not a mobile tech issue and that it had to be towed in for service. So now it really feels like you guys don't really have your act together. Shouldn't you be able to be reading the codes from the car? You know, I don't know. So I gave him the screenshots of the error codes that I had taken the first time this happened, and said, you know, he became convinced that I did need the car towed and that it was not able to start. So then I told him that I was not going to be available to sit there for 90 minutes while a tow truck came out. And I really don't understand why that would be required. And that was a big deal, because the beauty of Tesla is that, you know, that you can unlock and lock the car by remote, right? You don't have to be there. You can stick the little key card in the car, you can lock the car, they could unlock the car, ask me to unlock the car. I don't actually physically need to be there for any reason that I can see. And in fact, the tow truck drivers, they can't let you ride with them anymore because of COVID. So I'm going home. I have my other vehicle at iPad Rehab. The minivan is still at iPad Rehab. I'm just going home. I'm exhausted. Come pick up this car. And they refused to do that. So that ended up being a lot of back and forth where I got a little late night Karen-y on this one, I think. because they said, you got to stay there. And I said, that's too bad. I'm not doing that. There's a brand new Tesla straight at me twice. What's your return policy? And you know, he wasn't having any of that. So this went back a few times where he said, we cannot send a tow truck out there if you are not willing to wait there until 1 o'clock in the morning. And I wasn't willing to do that, even though the car at the time was blocking in some people that live in an apartment. So that was really, really frustrating and crazy. So the next morning, finally, we get my friend here from Griff's Automotive come out to tow the car. And there's a lot of special stuff that go with towing a Tesla. So if you do have a Tesla and it does break down, this guy convinced me, we were looking under the car, that you have to be really careful because there's a lot of plastic under there and there's some brake lines that these hooks can grab if you don't know what you're doing. So you have to be really careful. I also didn't realize that the car had tow mode. So you have to put the car in tow mode. My car, of course, being a toddler that it is, refused to go into tow mode, but maybe your car won't be so fussy. So there it is. Now my car is in service. So on the app, it's sad. It's all grayed out. I named my car Air 14. And it's telling me that even though my brand new Tesla doesn't even have 500 miles on it, my brand new Tesla is gone away when I got back from this trip on June 10th. I got messages from the service guy saying, yeah, we're not even going to look at it until June 14th. So bye, Tesla. You were fun while it lasted, and now this is my ride. The good old reliable bike. And that is how I have been getting to work and back from work, and will indefinitely, I guess, until we finally figure out what the heck is wrong with my Tesla. So there we go. That is my story. Oh, there we go. That's my story. Bye-bye, Tesla. Bye-bye, Air 14. I bought an Air 14 Tesla. I kind of regret it, but it is really fun to drive.